Welcome back to Heath's house, where we do a little bit of everything all the time, and it usually turns out right.
Yeah, a lot more right than it does over at Homesteading Off the Grid, where we typically don't have much to do with homesteading because most of it in the past has turned out wrong.
Your fruit trees turned out pretty good.
They did. Yeah, I've gotten good at growing some things by just leaving them alone and letting Mother Nature take its course. So anyway, Heath, thank you for having me on your channel here at Heath's house. It's a new channel, and I'm excited to be the first person to sit down and have a conversation with you. I'm curious, Heath, why have you decided to have a YouTube channel?
Well, I've had some friends talk to me in the past to do this or start a food truck. I cook a lot of food, and I invite a lot of friends over. My back deck's always open for anybody that wants to come by to have a cookout. And I don't really want to do a food truck or anything like that, because then I'm not cooking for friends and I'm cooking for people who are just going to complain.
Right.
So I've never really done anything like that. But then recently I've had a few friends ask me about doing the channel, just showing some of the stuff I do. And so I was like, why not? And so I'm starting out and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for allowing me to be helpful with this channel and this new thing you've got going on here. Now, folks, I know this is Heath's channel, but it's a new channel, and he's only got a few videos up right now. So it's kind of odd for me to be introducing Heath on his channel, but many of you here watching, hopefully, have been driven over from my channel, Homesteading Off the Grid. And with that in mind, I want to allow you to get to know this guy a little bit. Like, I've had the pleasure of getting to know him over the last few years. We met through youth sports. Our sons have played basketball together and flag football and now tackle football together. So we met kind of like a co-parent thing, but at times Heath was coaching various sports and I was coaching various sports. But then this year we were finally coaching sports together. We coached tackle football together this year.
That was a good season. That was a really good season.
And why? Why was it so great?
We went to the Super Bowl, which was awesome. Our defense kept the scores to the lowest scores ever in the history of the JDYFL program. I think they scored 30 points against us all season long.
And FYI, Heath's the defensive coordinator. It's true.
It's true. But I mean, it was Luke's 5th year in the JDYFL program. His last year, he goes to high school next year. And it was just a great end of 5 years of coaching.
Yeah. And it was super special for me and my son Daniel. Luke is his son. And it's interesting. Luke is the center and my son is one of the quarterbacks. It was Daniel's first year of playing tackle football. He's played flag football for about 6 years. And his son Luke and my son Daniel were always on the same flag football team in the spring. And never in the fall, because Luke was always playing tackle.
Yeah.
And so Daniel, he's good in certain ways. He's got an arm, but he's made some improvements this year, but he's got more to go. But there was always that hesitation for both Daniel and me, and especially Daniel's mom, about Daniel stepping up to the next level and actually playing football. But Daniel, like Luke, is going to be in high school next year. They're the same age or in the same grade. As a matter of fact, right now, while Heath and I are sitting here having this conversation, where are our boys?
Yeah, they're working out right now together in the gym, getting ready for football next year.
Yeah, they're at the gym at the high school working out, getting ready for next year's football season. But then we're going to be meeting up with them in the gymnasium, because they're also on the same basketball team, and Heath and I this year are coaching basketball together for the first time. So we've been spending so much time together. Our friendship has gotten a lot closer, and I'd come over because Heath would be like, hey, come over to my place. I'm smoking some meat. And my belly is full right now because what'd you just smoke?
The reindeer sausage. I mean, the the bratwurst.
Yeah.
Venison bratwurst.
Yeah. We made a video for my channel, Homesteading Off the Grid, about 10 days ago where we ground, it was 60% pork butt and 40.
It was about half and half. It was 18 pounds, about 9 pounds of each, pork butt and venison.
Yeah. And it was delicious. So a few days a week, the kids get together with some of their other teammates in the gym, and they've got this exceptional trainer who's a professional who's training them to lift weights properly and correctly so they don't get injured and so they can get the most out of it as possible. So these days they coincide with the nights of our basketball practices, and so I typically have a couple of hours to wait around. So I come hang out with Heath, and my mouth's watering thinking about the food he makes, even though I just ate it and I'm full. But I was kind of prodding him along. I was saying, dude, why are you not showcasing this on YouTube? Because not everybody can do what you do when it comes to so many of these things. Cooking, and if you've seen, he's got a previous video, the way he cut the wood and split the wood. Heath is an outdoorsman. He's a country boy at heart and in his lifestyle. And I'm like, why don't you just put this on YouTube and see where it goes? And so I really am. I'm excited for you, and I'm proud. I mean, win or lose or meet somewhere in the middle, I'm going to do my best to help this guy be successful. And I hope that when I go to my channel and say, hey, go watch, Heath and do all this, like I'm going to make just a brief video after this one to try to drive some of you over to his channel. I hope you're listening. I hope you're following, because I want to tell you a couple other things about Heath. I know my audience, and Heath, as you build an audience, I'll teach you how to understand who it is that's watching you. It's called analytics. I go into my analytics. It breaks you folks down by gender, demographic, country you're in, what part of the country. 74% of my audience, who hopefully is going to become like 100% of your audience, plus others that you pick up along the way through grassroots efforts, are my age or older, and they're not really political people, because I'm not a political person, but they are traditional. I'll use that term. They're a little conservative in nature, and not to even say that they're conservatives, but family values matter to these people. The difference between right and wrong and understanding is pretty clear, cut and dry, matters to these folks. A lot of these folks are people who love to split wood. They like to hunt. They like to fish. They like to travel. They like to spend time with their families. So he's your guy, but they're also patriotic. We've got a lot of veterans who watch my channel, Home Staying Off the Grid. We've got a lot of people currently serving. We got a lot of people whose parents were in the military. Heath is not just a veteran and a combat veteran. He's currently still serving. Heath, would you mind to tell the folks about some of your military history?
So I originally joined active duty in 1997, and yeah, that was a while ago. I spent 8.5 years on active duty doing various things, and when we moved up to Alaska, I joined the Guard there, and I deployed to Kuwait and Iraq from Alaska. And then when I came back, I was doing contractor stuff, and so I spent like the next 5 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I'd gotten out of the Guard in the middle of that. And so then I was like back home, and I had a 10-year break in service, but I spent 5 years trying to get back into the Guard. I had an injury while I was active duty, and apparently that hindered me from rejoining the Guard, even though I was cleared for deployment with that injury. But they wouldn't let me back in, but then the Army was like, wait, we need people. And so they let me back in after 5 years. But yeah, I ended up having a 10-year break in service. So I currently have, I think, 15 good years in of time. And now I'm in the Virginia National Guard.
And so if you get 5 more years, that's your 20. You can actually retire
Yes.
with the full retirement benefits.
Yeah.
Is that your plan?
That is my plan. That healthcare, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And then plus, I think if you retire from active Army, your pension kicks in immediately.
It does.
But
so mine in the Guard, it's 62 is when you get your pension, which is a ways off for me because I'm not nearly as old as you are.
Yeah.
By a couple of months, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then and so, but your deployment time and your active duty time counts, so it lowers it down. So I actually haven't looked up when I could get it, but I would get it pretty close to when I actually retired.
Okay. And here's the thing about that 62, and I hate to say this, but it's going to be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to be a financial planner, and you know this, and I used to espouse this off to younger folks. If you start at 25 years old and you put $100 a month into a mutual fund or say a stock, and you average 12% per year, by the time you're 60, you've put in $20,000 or $24,000 at the most. But with that 12% compounding interest, it grows to be $1.2 million. And people would always say, "Oh my gosh, what if I don't live that long?" I remember telling those stories when I was in my late 20s as a new stockbroker, and here I am in my 50s now. 60s the next decade I'm looking at. So we do, some of us are fortunate enough to live that long, and then people would often say, oh yeah, well 1.2 million is not going to be as much then as it is now. To those people who still don't have it, it's more than you have, isn't it? So, I mean,
I'm actually working with all my kids. Like, they all have accounts for that.
Yeah.
Even my older ones who are no longer at the house, we talk about that all the time because it is so important right now at their age to get that.
Because they're like mid 25 and 23?
24 and 26.
Okay. And they're both active Army, aren't they?
They are both active Army.
So, not only is Heath the real man, Heath, and we've had conversations about this before, and I don't want to go too detailed into this, Heath has successfully raised men. See, and this is as coaches, and we see this a lot, and we won't go into too much detail with this, but there's a difference between boys growing up to become men and boys growing up to become adult boys. And especially with Gen Z, I hate to say it, a lot of these young adult males, I don't even use the term men with them because they're not. They're adult boys. And Heath raised two that are active Army, so I think we would call them men. So there's another advantage to watching Heath's house, this new channel he's building, because, you know, my son Daniel was telling me about a guy he watches on YouTube. I can't think of his name. I think he might be an NFL football player, but this guy grew up without a father. Sad story, dad was in prison or whatever. So he didn't know how to do a lot of the things that a lot of dads who are actively involved in their sons' lives teach their sons, like how to tie a tie, how to shave. So this guy started a YouTube channel to show boys or young men who didn't have a father presence in their life how to do these things because their fathers weren't there to do it. And his channel just blew up. He's got millions of subscribers. And despite making millions as a professional athlete, he's a very successful social media influence content creator. So it's what Heath's house is going to bring to the table for the viewers. It's not just cooking, especially the meats, and it's not chopping the wood. It's about someone who served our country honorably, raised at least 2 young men, and he's currently raising 3 more.
Yeah, I got 5 sons. You'll usually hear me call them by the numbers. So, like, number 4's got basketball practice today.
Yeah.
Number 3's at track.
So this is a guy, he didn't just get lucky. He's worked hard to turn boys into men. So if that's something that you could benefit from in your life, maybe if you are a young man who doesn't have a father figure in your life, and I don't want to go, there's so many options. There's a lot of folks who do have fathers who are in their lives, but they're not very involved. A lot of, and this breaks my heart to see this a lot. And I can speak because I come from a similar background. There's a lot of men who think that if they earn and provide, their job's finished. Well, it's not. You've got to spend time with your kid, and Heath has 5 kids, and despite having how many jobs you got?
Like 3.
Yeah, and now he's doing social media. He always prioritizes time with his kids and his wife. He's got a wonderful wife. It's like that's number 1. And that's probably why he and I get along so well, because our number 1 priority is our families and spending time with them. So, Heath, what are your, do you have any specific plans for this channel going forward?
Honestly, I don't. Mostly just recording what I do, which is normally pretty fun. We do a little bit of everything. As you can see, we got this plastic up here. I got to clean the chimney. I put my ladder up there. It was too short, so I was like, well, I'll just climb up on the roof. But the roof is very steep on this section of the house, and so that wasn't working. And so I got to get a bigger ladder or rent a bucket truck so I can clean the chimney. But I mean, yeah, just normal stuff that I do, hanging out with friends. And I'm a big DIYer because money just saves money doing it yourself. It's so expensive to hire people to do things. I usually get people to help out when it's something that, like doing the mud pan on a shower. No, I'm not going to do that. That messes up your bed. But doing everything else and framing the floor out for the tile guy, that's what I'll do. Mm-hmm. And so it's basically just going to be the stuff I normally do in life, and I'm just going to start recording it now.
And that's a great idea. And I mean, I've beaten that dead horse a million times on my channel. I've said, I made a video a couple of days ago. I think you mentioned you watch it. If you know how to just fix stuff, if you just record yourself fixing stuff and start a channel, it's just a matter of time before you're going to make it. Enough, because I can't fix anything. And the few things I have fixed, I think I fixed 3 things this year, and I was very proud of myself for that. I learned how to do it by watching a YouTube channel. I'll watch it. The person will say, okay, do this. So I'll hit pause, I'll do it. Then I'll hit play. This is do. So I think that's a great idea.
And if you have anything you want to see, let me know. Can't promise to hit everything, but I have a lot of stuff I'm doing at this property, so.
Yeah. Yeah, put it in the comment section. Say, hey, Heath, this is broken in my house, or have you ever done this because I need to get that done? I'm sure you'd love to do it for him.
Yeah, I'd help out with that.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I look forward to interacting with you all. I look forward to this adventure. I think it's going to be fun. It's definitely going to be more fun than opening up a food truck. I can guarantee you that, because I get to eat all my food instead of having to serve it to random strangers. So, yeah, I think this is going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
I do have one more thing I'd like to hear you talk about for a minute, and I always come up with one more thing. You know me well. I just love to talk.
He loves to talk.
And you folks who've come here from Homestead and Off the Grid, you know that as well. I want to hear a little bit about your sports/athletic background and how you've become, because Heath is like, he coaches something every season. And he talked about the success our football team had this year. And again, that was so special for me and my son Daniel to be part of that success, because that was Daniel's first experience with tackle football. FYI, you know the story. Tom Brady, when he was in 8th grade, like Daniel was this year, and Luke.
Yeah.
Tom Brady was the 2nd string quarterback for a team that didn't win a single game. And he never got any playing time. And so we went into this season with me and Daniel having that conversation. Daniel said, yeah, I know that. And I'm not saying he's the next Tom Brady, but that shows what a magical season it was.
Yeah.
And Heath and our head coach, and he wouldn't be upset with me for getting me a shout out, Coach Mike, he ran the offense. These 2 guys knew more about football than I knew there was to know about it. I had no clue. I learned as much about football in that 4 months period as I have in 50 plus years of living. But he also knows the similar amount about basketball. So how did you come into this knowledge of sport?
Well, I just grew up playing sports. I played every sport that was available to me. Didn't matter what it was. If I could compete, I competed. Growing up in Michigan, it's hard to play basketball outside in your driveway. My neighbors were an older couple. They had a basketball hoop. I shoveled their driveway for free the entire winter, and I got to use their basketball court all year long. And I would use it in the wintertime. I'd go shovel it, and then I'd play basketball and shoot free throws. But I just loved it. And like, James is 26.
Mm-hmm.
I've been
That's
coaching
number
him.
one?
Yeah, it's number
Number
one.
one.
I've been coaching him for 20 years now. That's when my coaching career started as a parent. And then Christian, and now Lee and Luke and Heath, like, coached T-ball last year. So it's been, like, I've been coaching for 20 years for my kids' sports. And I take it seriously. Like, if you're going to play sports, and it's not so serious where, like, you're yelling at kids, because between 5 and 10, really, you just want to get the fundamentals down. But they still have to have discipline. They can't be goofing off. They have to have discipline. They have to do what they're told, and they have to learn to become coachable. Because once you hit 11, you start playing for real in most sports. And like with football, so this is Luke's 5th year. I think he started out when he was 7. And so, like, 7-year-old, you're just really teaching them how to stand still. And then 8 and 9, you're doing some plays, but even though it's tackle football, you're not doing tackle. And then the next one up, so this is 12, 13. So 10 and 11, you're actually almost a full football team. There are a lot of rules at 10 and 11 to help keep the kids from getting injured, but you're playing football. But the only difference is at 10 and 11, everybody gets equal playing time. We put everybody on the field. We let them play the positions they want. At the age group who was just at the President's League is 12 and 13-year-old. Here, they don't necessarily have to play every game, because here you're here to win. Like, at the lower age groups, the other 3 things, you're there to teach them how to play football safely and how to enjoy the game. And then when you get to 12 and 13, you're there to win and go to the Super Bowl. which we missed it by 2 points.
Well,
It was a heartbreaker.
We missed winning by 2 points.
2 points.
Yeah, and you know what? That's just reality. Of course, it's always about having fun, but at the same time, by the middle school level, it is about winning, because this is where a lot of kids who are there to participate start getting weeded out. The kids who are there to dominate are the ones that are going to make it to the next level. And from that point, that discipline you speak of is key. I don't know how you feel, but as a coach, I'd rather have a kid that's coachable and disciplined, but maybe not the best kid on the team, than a kid with a ton of talent who knows everything and is not coachable.
Well, look at the one that played cornerback. Never played football before.
Yes.
I'm not even sure if he played flag football before.
He didn't.
He came out and wanted to play football, not even knowing what he was supposed to do. We tried him in a couple different positions, but he was super coachable, and he was fast. And by the end of the season, he was an awesome cornerback.
Yep.
And
he also was a wide receiver on offense.
Yeah. And he had never played it before, but he was coachable.
Yep.
And he busted his butt in practice.
And
I don't think he ever missed a practice either.
Never missed a practice, never missed a game. And when we would speak to him, he always answered with yes, sir, no, sir, or yes, coach, or no, coach. And we had another kid that came out that never played football before ever, flag football or tackle. And he was the meanest, most aggressive linebacker, most effective linebacker in defensive end by the end of the season. You know what I'm talking about. We can't say names because they're minors. Those kids were coachable. And then we've worked with kids who've played for years and years, but they already know everything, and they don't need us telling them nothing, and they're not going to get past this level. That's just the reality. But you said something, Heath, that just, it was like, no wonder you're where you are. Heath talked about when he was a kid, shoveling his neighbor's drive, shoveling the snow out of it in the winter for free, just in exchange for being able to shoot basketball. I mean, that's building that work ethic, that concept of work ethic. And it shows drive and desire that you don't see in everybody. So, well, Heath, if you can't think of anything else to say, again, I want to thank you for letting me sit down and have this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for helping me get started. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely.
And remember, when you come to Heath's house, the food is always fresh and the back deck is always open. Which is true, because Heath is out there right now with some kids roasting some marshmallows in a fire I built for him.
Yeah. All right. Next time, buddy.
See y'all next time.